Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Hello, welcome to USA Global TV and Radio. My name is Heward and I'm known as the Harley Street Stress Expert. I'm also USA Global TV presenter and USA Global TV and Radio's resident therapist as well. Our show today is Talking Heads, and I am an expert presenter in today's topic, which is part of the Mind and Body Connection series. Our topic today is seasonal struggles, coping with anxiety, depression at Christmas. So this is a very interesting topic and a topic that causes a lot of challenges for people because this is a time, Christmas, and I'm going to mention the word Christmas even though we don't all celebrate Christmas. And that is because I've spoken to many people in my many years of doing this work, and I've spoken to people that don't celebrate Christmas, and I ask them, what are they doing for Christmas? And then I kind of stop myself and say, oh, perhaps you don't celebrate Christmas. And what response that I generally get is the fact that people say it's a holiday and our family come together because everybody's not working. So we take the time out and we don't call it Christmas, but we have a celebration, we have nice food, and we have a family gathering. So it's however you don't or do celebrate Christmas, the time is a time for people to gather. Whether you do or you don't, it is a family time for many people, and many people are enforced pretty much to have that time together with their families. So for some, it's actually a dual-natured experience, Christmas is, a festive season, I'm going to refer to it as, because for some it's very joyous. It's a time that they're going to meet up with their families, and it's a really joyous time. It's time to go out and socialise with their friends, for some getting drunk, for some partying and revelling, and a time for friends to gather together. And certainly in my many years, I always met up with friends on Christmas Eve and spent Christmas Day with my family. But that was very much a thing for me, that I felt that Christmas Day was a family thing and Christmas Eve was the time to party. I've changed those views now, and I'm much more celebrating New Year because I feel that the Christmas is much more a family occasion and coming together, and the less impetus of having that friendship and gathering of friends. But for others, and especially the ones that are creating the Christmas lunch and being host to Christmas, it can be very stressful. And it also can bring up all sorts of anxieties about the cooking. It can bring anxieties up about different aspects of pleasing everyone, making sure that you've got everything right and pleasing everybody and being there for everyone else and perhaps not so there for yourself. So it can be at times for some people a time for depression. And it's important to understand that you're not abnormal because you might feel depressed. And during this presentation, I'm going to be talking about why you might feel these negative emotions and feelings when you're looking around and we're supposed to be having fun. We're supposed to be in that joyous and festive and fun and bubbly and laughing experience. And yet we're not always feeling like that. So what is the Christmas blues? The Christmas blues is when we're feeling that stress of the holiday, that stress of that holiday expectation of the season, the things that we should do, we think we should do, and the things that we feel that we must do. It's sometimes for some people feelings of sadness because there's different people that are not there, family, members that are supposed to be there and no longer with them, or friends and family that are across the waters in different places, so they're alone. Also, it's a time of massive financial stress for many people. And at this current time, in our changed current times, the financial strains for many families, including people that don't have children, can be enormous just in the rising costs of living crisis that we have become known to be living in, especially in the Western world. And there is more things that are more expensive, and a lot of people are suffering with the very basic needs, regardless of the Christmas festive season and what the expectation is for spending that extra money. And so it creates an incredible situation in terms of needing to be doing what you usually do and not feeling that you actually get there. And also, many people, if there is a loss in terms of grief and a loss of a family member, this is the time that it comes up. This is the time that we remember family members that are no longer with us. And certainly from my own perspective, the first Christmas without my baby brother was really challenging because it was the empty chair around the table. It was the innuendos and the conversation that he would have and the taking the mickey out of different people, and he would love my prawn cocktail. And it's those moments that we kind of think about the small things, but the small things become very big things when a family member is not around the table at those types of occasions. And so we're not just talking about Christmas, and we are theming it. I am theming it as Christmas because it's just around the corner. So, is depression at Christmas common? Yes, it's very common. You will be surprised how many people are feeling depressed at Christmas. And this is because there is a societal norm to think that we should be happy. There's a societal norm that demonstrates in commercials, in stores, when we're shopping, the ever round of Christmas songs that's piped through all the stores as we're shopping, that we should be happy. And sometimes when there is so much in terms of overwhelm and we don't feel it, that can bring on a depression. Now, what do I mean by depression? It's when we internalize and we go inside our minds to think about what we are missing, the past. So recounting things that maybe of our childhood, of Christmas past, and what's different now. And as I've got older, I've actually felt that Christmas when I was a child was much more exciting and fun, and it was enjoyable because it was all a surprise. And I do feel personally, and it might be the same for you if you don't have children or your children have grown up, or you didn't have children and you're not in the family home as being around children, that it's almost like you're missing something with the children being around. And at Christmas at my own family home, I go to my mum's and my nieces and nephews come for Christmas. And I do feel it's their day. It's watching the look on their faces when they're opening up their presents. But what about if there isn't children? And we reminisce and we focus on our past Christmases and our past expectations of what was and what it is now. And so this common experience of feeling a depression around Christmas is very common because we tend to compare and contrast maybe of our own previous Christmases, our own seasonal festive times, and also of other people's. Social media is something that revels in showing the good stuff about Christmas. It shows a snapshot, a moment. But what it doesn't show is there might have been a family upset just prior to that photograph being taken, where everybody performs and sits up and smart and smiles for the camera. And I've known some people that have performance for the camera, but actually behind the scenes, there is a lot of challenge. Are you in that kind of family situation? Are you smiling for the camera, but really inside feeling that it's to celebrate and to show those moments on social media that everybody expects to see? I'm not a fan of posting pictures of meals and food. And when somebody suggests posting a picture of my food, it doesn't make me feel very great. But some people love it and some people hate it. I just think it's kind of a private thing. And I personally feel that it has to be each to his own. What feels right for you might not feel right for others. But I frequently see pictures of dinner plates, and I frequently see pictures of the big roast and the big soiree of food. And this might be your way of showing this is a festive occasion, but it might be depressing for other people that are living on their own. It might be depressing because they're not in the family situation. And so what they're having is something that's not anything like what's on your festive table. And so it can contribute to feelings of isolation and feelings of depression, especially on Christmas Day and Christmas Eve, when there is a lot of celebrations. So we are living in a time now that social media is demonstrative of showing what we're supposed to be and what we're supposed to look like. And yet it doesn't show and reflect what's real, what really goes on in family situations, especially in our times of crisis. So what is Christmas anxiety, and why is it so bad at Christmas? It's because public spaces are usually very, very busy. There's more noise, there's more lights everywhere, and there's more smells, and there's long queues everywhere. Everything takes forever to get served. Everything takes a long time, and many services shut down, and it's much busier than usual. And this is the time for some people when there's plumbing issues, or the boiler breaks down, or there's no heating, and it becomes very overwhelming for many people. And the challenge here is because there's like a speed and an essence of time that everybody's getting everything ready for Christmas. What really sounds really crazy to me, and in the UK, we have an extra day. We have a day called Boxing Day. So we have Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and Boxing Day. So we have a 3-day Christmas celebration. And so Boxing Day for the UK is just an extension of the Christmas. So it's another day for the family big festive lunch and another day to spend with your loved ones. And so it's 3 days in the UK. I know that in America that there isn't that Boxing Day, because I used to have an American boyfriend, and when I said you didn't even call me on Boxing Day, he didn't have a clue what I was talking about. And so this is part of our culture, that everything shuts down in terms of being with family. And it can be very overwhelming if for 3 days you are pushed in a family situation and you don't get on with family members, or family members create challenges in that extended amount of time. There is a pressure, an immense pressure at Christmas to be around others, Whether you like them or not, whether you want to be with them or not, there is an absolute pressure to be around them and an expectation of food and alcohol. The amount of food consumed around Christmas can be enormous, and Christmas shopping trolleys, when you're shopping in the preparations for Christmas, can also cause overwhelm and challenge, because then it takes much longer, things go more expensive, so the prices go up around the Christmas period, and everything becomes intense. I've just done that very quickly, but it becomes intense. And it's intense because there is this societal commercialization of Christmas, and it forces us to think that we should be experiencing a certain way, and yet we don't feel it. And there is things that we perhaps feel that we have to do that we don't want to do. So why is Christmas difficult? The pressure of an expectation. It is family time, which can be challenging, because we don't all live in those perfect family norms that are portrayed in social media and on TV. And we are normal, and it is okay not to feel okay at Christmas. It is a time of loss for some people without friends and family members, and it is a time of feeling a sensitivity of needing to do something, feeling that you should do something, and yet being not quite sure how it all fits in with how you feel personally. I've just been describing the external experience of why it can be so overwhelming at Christmas, why we think that we have to do and fit in and be something that we may not actually feel at the time. So I want to talk briefly about seasonal affective disorder, SAD for short. It is a known phenomenon, and I've done a previous show on seasonal affective disorder where I talk a bit more in depth about it, but I feel that it's important to bring it up in this particular show because as the nights are short and the nights are darker, so there is less day and less night, and in the lead up to Christmas and being Christmas, there is much more night than there is day, which can feel very enclosing, and it can also feel very depressing as well because there is a lack of sunlight. And this can affect the mood. It can affect how you feel if you're not getting enough sunlight. And so this also can have an effect on how you feel at the Christmas time. So let's look at some signs of anxiety and depression. So feelings of sadness, as I've mentioned earlier. And sometimes for some people, a feeling of hopelessness, a feeling of overwhelm, and for some, a feeling of irritability, like a frustration of not being where you think you should be and not feeling how you think you should be. And so this is causing for some an irritability and a frustration, and for some a worry that they're not in the space or they're not feeling how they think they should feel. So let's look at some symptoms of severe depression and anxiety. If it's for you personally or someone that's around you, somebody that's in your family or a friend. So there's feelings of a sadness and anxiousness very much more often. So more often than not, it's not just sporadic, it's a continual feeling, a more frequent feeling of feeling sad and a more frequent feeling of feeling anxious. You or the person that you're looking at in terms of observing their symptoms, they may be avoiding social activities that used to be that you can see yourself, or if you're observing someone else, that used to be fun, but there's like an avoidance strategy, not wanting to go there and going into your own space. So if you're seeing somebody avoiding those times when you think that they should be coming out to party, this is a clear sign that there is some severe anxiety and depression symptoms. A feeling of feeling more irritable, more often, more prolonged, and a feeling of a feeling of feeling irrational about that frustration of your irritability. So much more mood swings is when it's more severe. So it's not just sporadic at certain times and just when you're organising dinner. This will be prolonged in your experiences. A feeling of restlessness, a sort of I need to be doing something but not feeling like you want to do something, especially as in the wintertime in most countries, not in every country. I know Spain doesn't get cold in the wintertime, but in certain countries, especially in the UK, we get very cold. And so the cold can make you feel low in mood and also can make you feel restless. It's almost easier to take something off, but harder to get warm. And I've seen in the UK in particular a lot of advertising of blankets that have a heater element to them, like a heated over blanket. And my mum has invested in one and telling me all sorts of wonderful things about how much more cozier she is now. And so she's bought one for me because I always complain about sitting in my office and feeling cold. And it makes you not want to do things. It makes you feel very miserable and very frustrated and lacking luster. And so when you are feeling cold, especially at Christmas time and in the seasonal festive time, when you should be feeling happy, we think you should be feeling happy, this can make you feel worse. So trouble falling asleep. Many people that have prolonged and severe anxiety and depression symptoms will have problems falling asleep. It's like they're tired, but too tired to sleep. And then the opposite of feeling too sleepy, getting too much sleep. And also waking up early because there's like a clock, an internal clock saying, I need to do something, I need to be in action, and yet not able to do it because you're not feeling great. So moving on to the physical symptoms, fatigue is definitely a physical symptom of this overwhelm at Christmas. Headaches. Let me just explain about headaches. That when somebody has constant headaches, it's because there is so much thinking that the mind hasn't had time to switch out. And so there's one thing after another. And certainly in our festive season, there is time that we should be doing things. And there's almost a feeling of there's not enough time to get everything done. And there is a race against time. And so when the mind is constantly occupied with what it thinks it needs to do, and there is lists running around in the mind, what happens is that it can literally make the head ache with thoughts. And so it is important when you do get a headache that it's a sign, it's a way of telling you to stop, to pause, to take a breath, and to make sure that you are taking care of you. Because Christmas, for many people, is just one day, or maybe 2, or 3 for the UK. But it's a short amount of time to be suffering in this way. For many people, it causes an excessive withdrawal of the normal physical activities in life. And also that the avoidance of social situations will create a situation where you will feel like you're missing out and yet not wanting to participate. So people who do not view themselves as depressed, and there's many people that think, I'm okay, it's just Christmas. The symptoms there will be headaches, excessive drinking to almost overly compensate for the fact that they're not feeling it. And I'm going to use that term. When somebody doesn't feel what everybody else is saying they should feel, there is a feeling of avoidance and escape. And there may be an escape into excessive drinking to try and get that feeling that everybody else is. The problem is with excessive drinking and substance abuse to feel good is that it in turn makes you feel, if you're not feeling good, it actually makes you feel worse. So it exacerbates the symptoms of you feeling not great. And even if when you're in a party situation, you're feeling good, it might bring on you feeling more cheery and more joyous, but it has the opposite effect. If you are feeling negative and have a low mood, it can actually make your mood feel worse. It can actually lower your mood more. And the appreciation of that this is a time of indulgence, when we move into excessive eating, this can have an effect and a toll on our body. And I went out for dinner on Friday night with some friends, and I felt that I'd really overindulged, and I declined having a dessert because my stomach was fit to burst. And this is because when food is rich, it creates an intolerance if that your body is not used to, and can cause acidity in the body and reflux. And so it is important to know what your limits are. Enjoy what you eat, know your limits, and know what feels good, because there's nothing more uncomfortable than overindulging in food and then suffering afterwards. And so it's good to have a little bit of everything. But be careful about the amounts that you eat, because it will have an effect on the body if you suddenly pile in lots of calories and lots of excessively rich food into the body. I only generally have Christmas lunch because it is so overindulgent. I can't actually eat anything else, and I might have a banana in the morning, and we have Christmas lunch late, and that's because it is far too much food and not what I'm used to, and a lot more meat than I'm used to. And so this is important to be considerate about what your norm is and what's an acceptable norm to have more. So why am I always ill at Christmas? One of the things that I used to suffer with consistently was when I stopped, and there'd be a big race, a busy schedule, a busy calendar, lots of parties, lots of activity of getting everything done. And then you would stop. And when you stop, this is when the body kicks in as to how it doesn't feel. And it's that stopping mechanism of the holiday that when you stop, this is when your body relaxes. And I used to get what I used to commonly call a Christmas cold. And then it used to disappear just as quickly as it came when I was back to work. And I never really understood it, but I used to have a ruined Christmas because I would feel so low, coughing and sneezing and just feeling really terrible. And then when it was time to go back to work, it was almost like it went away. And so your body knows when you're overdoing it. And this is the way, when you get a cold, it's the way of the body releasing toxins out of the body, all the things that it doesn't need. And so I'd like to give you a different perspective on a cold. It's the way that the body clears out everything that it doesn't need, and a way of replenishing the body with good things. So it's a good way of getting rid of anything that's toxic in the body, anything that doesn't need to be there, and a clearing of the pathway of your internal systems, and almost a resetting of your body clock. So what happens is, when we have so many activities indoors, especially at this time, if you're living in a cold climate, is that full schedule of activities that are indoor, usually you're in crowded spaces, and the cold weather doesn't make ideal conditions. And it is a great time, and it is a great condition for colds and viruses to be in the environment, and for you to pick up those viruses. This is where they thrive. So it's important to drink plenty of water, to keep draining out your system. If you are suffering with a Christmas cold, as I call it, or you're having that December letting go and a cleansing, because if you reframe it to the body cleansing for the new, what happens is that then when you drink plenty of water, it flushes out the virus or the toxins that are in your body, and it moves you to feeling much better quicker. And from my perspective, if I ever get a cold, it's my signal to slow down or stop, or take a break, or to just take time, maybe to sleep and to take a breath. And it might be that for yourself. And so consider, when you do get a cold, what the relevance of it might be. What have you been doing that creates this, what I call a Christmas cold or a December cold? And it is very much a time of such expectation that we place on ourselves, and what other people place on us, and what society places on all of us in terms of its huge commercialization. So why do I feel lonely at Christmas? Well, the images and expectations and the socializing and the excess in relationships become under spotlight. They become under your spotlight and your wider community spotlight. So those feelings come up of inadequacy, feelings that don't match up to other people's perceived ideas. Now, if you watch Christmas films and dramas and documentaries, if you watch things like soaps, and they'll all have like Christmas episodes, all of these move you to a space of thinking that this is about everybody having their Christmas hats and the Christmas turkey and having all the festivities. But it might not be that that's the situation for you, especially if you're living alone. And if you are living alone and you haven't got the friends and family around you, this can feel even more isolating and lonely because it's under the spotlight. And there is this massive commercial expectation that you've had a great time. And what I want to share with you is it's okay to not feel okay. And it's okay if your experience of Christmas doesn't match up to the perceived ideas of what others and the commercialization of Christmas make you think that it should be, whereas it might not be the same for you. So let's look at some practical coping strategies and setting your own realistic expectations of what's possible for you during the festive season, and letting go, basically letting go of that societal norm of the inverted commas perfect Christmas. Manage your finances. Budget, especially in our current times. It's not acceptable to go into a huge overdraft facility and credit card excess when we are living in our current times. So budget is really important so that you don't go into overwhelm in terms of your finances, and look for low-cost ways of celebrating and collaborating for Christmas with families. Stay connected with friends and family. Reach out, especially to friends and groups, support groups. If you are alone, this is an important time to reach out. Looking at techniques that you can use to find a way to be for you, to be looking after you, because we've looked at how things can be very challenging from the external perspective. But looking at the internal perspective, your internal experience reflects your external experience. So what you're thinking and feeling inside affects your external. And so many people, especially December time, the end of the year, they're looking at a reflection of what their year has brought to them, what they've done, what they've achieved, what they've not achieved, what they set out to do, what failed. And this can bring on serious amounts of anxiety and serious amounts of depression of what they didn't achieve, because this is a time for many people to reflect on their year. And one of the things that I do, which I highly recommend in terms of looking at how you can feel differently about your year, is I write a Christmas newsletter and I pop it into the Christmas cards of family and close friends. I don't send, I think I probably send about 50 Christmas newsletters out, in that encompasses family and friends. And in that Christmas newsletter, what I do is I focus and just put little snippets of what was good. I call them the highlights. And I'm also being real as well. And I also include some lowlights of things that people passing or something that didn't go so well. I clutter it with mainly highlights, but it's important, I feel, to be real, to be authentic. So I put awards in there that I've won, things that projects that I've done, and things that festivities and parties that I've been to, gatherings of friends, and very quickly, it gets filled. And I find that that's an extraordinary way of reflecting back on the year in a positive way, reflecting back on the year and seeing what you've achieved versus only looking at what you didn't achieve. And I highly recommend, even if you don't form it in a newsletter, actually journal and write about your positive things or the key highlights and key lowlights, because we're human, having a human experience, and it's completely okay that some of it wasn't good. So look at breathing if you're feeling an overwhelm, mindfulness practices, relaxation, breathing exercises, breathing a full breath down into the belly when you're feeling overwhelming and you're feeling a level of anxiety and stress, and that feeling of looking at the past in terms of depression. When you breathe into your body, into the lower belly, that will bring you into the body and out of your mind. And it's the off switch for the mind, and it will actually make you feel much better. Also, running on the spot or going for a jog around the building or dancing will have the same effect of bringing you into your body, and it clears down the mind. Or singing along to your favourite song. All these things are very simple things. Or putting on a comedy. Around Christmas time, there are lots of comedies, and there are lots of shows that will make you laugh. And laughter is the best medicine anybody can have, to laugh. I had a phone call with a friend about a week ago, and he was just cracking jokes non-stop. And he said, "When was the last time you laughed?" And I said, "Thank you for making me laugh. It was just such fun." And the jokes kept coming. And it made me feel differently. And laughter makes you feel differently. And it releases oxytocin in the body, which is also known, I call it the love drug, the love hormone, which makes you feel amazing. So prioritize sleep. Prioritize getting enough sleep, because when there's a lot of activities, we find that we're racing against the clock to get everything done, and we may not find the time to sleep. Balanced eating is critical, because at a time of overindulgence, it's okay to overindulge, but not for an extended period of time, because it has an effect on the body, and it will create high levels of acidity when you're eating lots of rich foods. And bring in a regime of a small amount of exercise, whether it is running on the spot or running around the block that you live in. But be conscious of when you're feeling not great, or if there's others that are not great around you. So supporting others, recognizing when someone is struggling. This is a really important key message, because you might be having the time of your life in your family, but you might have a family member or a friend that's not, that have gone quiet and withdrawn. So recognize, to be in awareness for yourself and for the other person. Encourage an open conversation about feelings, because for many people, Christmas and the festive season is not a good time to talk about negative feelings. So feel okay to open up someone else that is not feeling okay, and to encourage them to talk about how they're feeling, especially at this current time. And offering practical support by spending time with them and being with them, and also checking in, making sure that they are okay. You might be okay, but they might not be. So check in to make sure that they are okay. And if it's severe, to suggest either yourself or you seek professional help. Severe anxiety and depression intervention therapies, such as cognitive behaviour therapy, counselling, or indeed checking in with your general practitioner. And there are many resources online, crisis lines like the Samaritans and mental health charities. So check in with those types of charities, because they will be there 24/7, especially around the festive season. Find joy in the small moments and reframe Christmas and focus on the meaningful things that are personal to you, and celebrate the festive season in your own way without feeling that external pressure to do everything that we think we should be. And practice gratitude. Be grateful. Always say thank you. I'm forever practicing gratitude in all sorts of ways. And even for the small things, say thank you. I have a phrase, in deepest gratitude. And when you are grateful and you express it, thank you, even if you're living on your own, and you say to yourself, I'm so grateful for that, thank you. It brings more, because it's a frequency, and gratitude is a heart-based frequency, and it moves you and elevates your mood from the low-level mood into heart and makes you feel different and better. So elevating your mood by saying thank you or expressing levels of gratitude, even if it's for something small, express a level of gratitude by saying thank you. Those very words are magical. And say, I'm in huge gratitude, because when you express gratitude, it changes your mood, it changes your frequency, and it makes everything feel good. It makes your internal become external. And then you get more things showing up that you're grateful for. And in closing, it's okay to not feel happy at this time. Prioritize your mental health and well-being. And I wish you a very peaceful and self-compassionate holiday season. Thank you for your attention and your interest. Please subscribe to USA Global TV and Radio. Please reach out if you feel that I may be of service to you. I help all sorts of people at times of challenge. It doesn't matter what it is that comes up for you. Please do reach out and check in on my other shows, and look on USA Global TV and Radio for my other Talking Heads episodes. Follow me on YouTube within USA Global TV and Radio. If you just Google my name and go into USA Global TV and Radio, you will find all the shows, and I help on various topics. Please follow me on Facebook and LinkedIn. I give all sorts of resources on my pages, and my shows I have live streamed on LinkedIn and Facebook. So please do reach out. You can find me on No More Stress at live.co.uk in terms of emailing me, or call, if you're international, +44. If you're local, 07523 120 189. I look forward to helping you through the times that are difficult in this festive season.